What's up guys, welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host Caleb, and today I've got something a little bit different for you. I entered a cedh tournament and I played one of my favorite decks, Voja. So I want to talk about my experience, how I did in the tournament, my thoughts about the tournament overall, and where the deck is going to go in the future, and if I'm going to do for future tournaments. So if that's something that will interest you, stay tuned because we're going to get right into it. After you click on that whatnot link in the description down below to get your free $15, you can also get 10% off all of your Tolarian library proxies whenever you use code DT4D. Now let's get right into it. Now I kind of want to talk about why I played Voja for a little bit, because there's a ton of options, and Voja is a deck that's not really proven yet, but I'm out to prove it. I chose Voja because the meta right now is kind of mid-range hell. If you thought last year was mid-range hell, you have no idea what the Valley Flood Caller or meta has done to the meta of cedh right now. Everybody sits on their flash enablers and they wait for someone else to go for it. And then when that person goes for it, the other player tries to win over top of it. So you just have people waiting, holding a whole bunch of interaction for someone to go for it, and then after everybody wastes their interaction, the other player is going to try to win on top of that player. And that just makes for a very weird meta and very boring meta where everybody's sitting behind entire hands of counter magic. So I figured this seems like a great time to play stacks. People aren't worried about the stacks deck. They're not going to interact with me because they're worried about the people trying to win at flash speed. And honestly, if anything, my suspicions were confirmed from this tournament. I saw a lot of people just countering and interacting with each other. The interaction is at an all-time high, and I was just kind of able to cast my 5 CMC creature. They're not worried about it. It's a card advantage piece in the command zone. Let's read Voja real quick for those of you that don't know. This is a 5 CMC Naya commander. It has Ward 3, Vigilance, Trample, and it has whenever he attacks, you draw a card for each wolf you control and you put a 1/1 counter on your entire board state for each elf you control. So now those stacks pieces, like your Archons of the world, are going to get massive, and it's very hard for people to deal with them, barring something like a bounce effect or straight up Swords to Plowshare or a removal spell. But a lot of people use damage based spells in cedh just because they're more efficient and not as expensive as the hard removal, aside from your deadly Rollick effects. So 9 times out of 10 you're able kind of just to get through without getting interacted with. Another thing that I think is really strong in the meta that this deck can win under very comfortably is Magus of the Moon and Blood Moon effects. Since we're on a lot of elves, it's very easy to drop that and be the only player able to play their deck. So again, I think it's very powerful there. I think the shortcomings of the deck have to be with the win cons that I chose. I'm very happy with the stacks pieces I'm on. I'm very happy with the interaction pieces I'm on, but I found myself having issues closing out the game because of the way I'm trying to close out the game. I was on an Atla Palani line where I'm looping Endurance and Twin Shot Sniper in and out of my graveyard to deal damage to the entire table and kill them. But the problem with that is Atla Palani and Mirror Entity both have to have a counter on them before I can get that combo off. So this means you have to set up your board state to win before the combat step. And I noticed I want to go for the win after the combat step, because you attack with Voja, draw 7 to 10 cards, and now you've got a handful of cards, and your cards like Savala are tapping for an insane amount of mana. So we need to be focused on winning after the combat step, not before the combat step. So that's something I'm going to change about the deck. As far as the records go, in my experience overall, I got 1 win, 3 losses, and a draw. I think 2 of those losses could have been a draw, and I think if I was more experienced, if I'm being totally honest, I could have gotten 2 wins. So that's another thing. This is my second tournament overall. I'm still learning the cedh tournament landscape, and this is all over webcam and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to read people and stuff sometimes. So I am learning a lot of that, and I do think if I had stuck to my guns in a couple scenarios, I could have gotten 1 to 2 more wins. But that's just something that's going to happen the more I play, right? And that's like evolving as a player. You want to get more experience. The only way to do it is go out there and get it. So I do think there's a lot of opportunity for me to top 16 with this deck, and I think that's going to be my goal. Do I have a time frame for that goal? Not really, but I did have a lot of fun in this cedh tournament, and I just want to challenge you guys. If you guys have a deck that you think is real, but everybody else is kind of like, I don't see it, go out there and try it, because that's the only way you're going to find out. I love brewing cedh decks, and I love brewing EDH decks in general, but I will say I have kind of had a toxic kind of experience trying to brew off meta or niche decks in the cEDH community. A lot of them would just write it off right away when they see it's never top 16 or won a tournament. But my argument for that is, if nobody's playing this deck, how is it ever going to top 16? So I'm going to be out here trying to prove Voja. And for any of you guys wanting to help out, I really do encourage leaving some suggestions in the comments. I'm going to drop the deck list down below. The main goal is, honestly, you're trying to stacks out the board. You're trying to get Mirror Entity on the battlefield. You're trying to outvalue your opponents. And then after that, you're trying to just kill everybody with Voja or the combo I mentioned. I do say, I think we need to pivot, like I said, and try to win after combat. So I'm looking at cards like even Marag, because Marag's going to give us 2 additional combat steps with a fetch land. And if you draw 5 to 7 cards, it's a good chance you're drawing a fetch land. I do want to talk about another new card. 1 second, it's here on my deck list. Nature's Rhythm. I think Nature's Rhythm is insane for Voja. It's very easy to cast it with your Selvala, and then it ends up in your graveyard, so you can tap Voja for the harmonized cost, and you're casting 2 creatures that way. So I was able to do this twice in the tournament very easily, but the problem is I didn't win after that, and that's insane. If you cast 2 green tutor, or if you tutor for 2 creatures in a Naya deck, you should win the game. So that's something I did realize. I have all this mana. I'm able to tutor for 2 creatures, but I didn't win the game after tutoring for 2 creatures. That's insane. Well, that's a little misleading. I did win the game, but I didn't win the game that turn. So that's a huge flaw in the deck, and something I realized. If you can't win the game after straight up tutoring for 2 creatures in a cEDH deck, the deck needs to be looked at. So if I'm being honest, that's something that I'm looking at. And yeah, if you guys have any valid criticisms for the deck list and ways to make it better, I'm very curious to hear them. Notably, this is never going to work is not valid criticism. Let me know what you think about short videos like this, or me just talking about, you know, my gameplay or the decks that I built and how they're performing, because I like doing it. And if you guys are listening to it, I'll continue to do it. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about the deck list. Let me know what your experience has been with cEDH or brewing in the cEDH community, because I hear a lot of people have a very positive experience. I'm getting a more positive experience as I meet new people that are open to new ideas. But honestly, right off rip, kind of not very welcome. I say it's welcoming, but not in the brewing side of things, if that makes sense. Everybody wants you to get into cEDH and play cEDH, but the second you start brewing something and start thinking it's viable, you're gonna get shit on a little bit. So some of that's good, some of that's bad, because there's valid criticism mixed with just not valid criticism. So again, let me know what you think about the deck. I had a super fun time. Again, I think Stacks is in a better place than people think it is. Everybody likes to shit on Stacks in cEDH, but honestly, there were some blue play. Like, I was in a pod with 3 blue players, and they were getting actively frustrated with how much I was interacting with the board with a Naya deck. These flash creatures, our Avens of the world, are extremely powerful. And when you drop an Archon effect that's making everybody cast only 1 spell per turn, and then you're able to flash in interaction pieces, and you're getting around your stacks pieces, breaking parity on it, and then those things have flying that can hit for damage next turn, that's where we want to be. And so you're interacting, not using counter magic. But if you drop an Aven Interrupter and someone tries to tutor, you effectively countered their tutor, right? So you have to kind of just change how you think about interaction in a hard sense of the world when you're playing a Naya deck right off rip, right? So yeah, with that being said, guys, I'm going to end the video here. I appreciate you guys watching, and yeah, have a great Easter.